So, should we begin? So, let's begin. We practice mindfulness of breath, incoming breath, outgoing breath. But I plan to give next set of instructions today, but I'm not sure how many of you are present. So we'll have to maybe post and do it next time. Are you people able to be aware of the breath for say 4 consecutive breaths? If you are, kindly raise your hands. Let you know. Okay. Thank you. If you're able to observe the stoppage of the breath in between, please raise your hand. Try to notice the breath going in, and stopping. And then after some moments, starting going out, and then again stopping. And then after some moments, restarting. You try to observe steps and note which of the durations is larger. Stoppage after in breath or stoppage after out breath. Let us try out the next set of instructions with a calm and quiet mind. Yeah. Mind now having got some concentration. You can now shift your attention from the breath to the whole body. And look at the whole body as if you're looking at it from the front. And see if you can feel anything all over the body. Anywhere, anything, any bodily sensation. Whenever you're able to feel anything, just put some attention for a few seconds. Notice the kind of sensation. And then shift to another place wherever you're able to feel anything. During the time that you focus on a place, notice the changing nature of the experience. The bodily sensation that you experience could be pleasant, unpleasant. There could be pressure, there could be tingling, pain, feeling of happiness, lightness, feeling of expansion, contraction, anything which you actually experience. Whenever you experience anything, notice it carefully, see its changing nature. And in case you don't experience anything, come back to the breath and feel the breath going in, coming out. Do it for a few minutes. Good. You can open your eyes. Relax and open the eyes. So, you, you feel something on the body or nothing? There's some echo coming inside. I should check why the echo is coming. My voice is getting rebounded again. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Now, so you have answered my question. Did any of you feel anything on the body in the last step of the meditation which I gave? Hmm? Could you feel anything or no? You could feel it or imagine it. You felt, you felt it or imagined it. You can close your eyes. You can close your eyes just now and try to feel it again. Just close your eyes. It won't disappear so quickly. Close your eyes again. Take a deep breath and then try again. So, could you feel anything? Verify. You're able to feel anything in the body? You can open your eyes now and let me know so that we can go ahead with the class. Did you feel anything? Hmm? Yeah, if you feel itching, itching is also a bodily sensation. Isn't it? Itching is a bodily sensation, so you're feeling it. Normally, we just rub it off and remove it away. Now we're trying to see it and see its changing nature. It's not cause anything, and it's not a constant experience. It either increases or decreases. You can see that. So that is the bodily sensation is an indication of changes happening in the body. Now those changes may be pleasant or unpleasant. So the pleasantness, unpleasantness is what's called the feeling or the Vedana. So we try to observe that Vedana, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, and practice observation of the bodily Vedana systematically like that, slowly and slowly, and then we'll go into some. Of course, you are out feeling. You can't be. For example, you are sitting at the moment. You're you're sitting on a chair. So after some time, the weight of the body will produce some effect, some pressure feeling on the bottom. So you can feel that. That also is a bodily sensation. Normally, we try to wriggle out our body, move it so that the pressure is eased. Now, before doing so, we observe, oh, there is a feeling of pressure and it is unpleasant, so I'm trying to change it. Had it been pleasant, I would have started enjoying it. So you check up on these small things and slowly build up your practice of experiencing the Vedana, the bodily feeling, and the bodily changes. So whatever bodily sensations are happening, they indicate the body is changing. So you can directly experience the changeful nature of body, that is impermanent, and the feelings that they are impermanent. There's again an echo coming. I hear my voice back. Please check up the microphone. Let's move further with our lecture. We have started discussing the fourth noble truth, which is the eightfold path to cessation of suffering. And that we discussed and started a discussion on these two, which is the wisdom or the pragya aspect of it. And they're all intertwined. So yesterday, last class, we discussed these two things, which come under the category of pragya, which is wisdom. The two aspects were wise view and wise resolve, sammaditthi, samma sankappa. So we try to understand what are sammaditthi. We saw it basically in terms of developing insight into the Four Noble Truths. Insight, not just intellectual understanding, but insight based on these 12 different aspects of the practice. Firstly is theoretical understanding, second is practice, and third is completion of the practice. So first noble truth, the practice is to be understood. Second, the truth of the origin has to be abandoned. Third, the truth of cessation has to be realized, actually realized. And fourth is the path has to be developed. So we are discussing the path at the moment and seeing how to develop it. So this is another characteristic of right view or sammadvaya view, appreciating the three characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta. Impermanence, uncertainty, and instability, that is the impermanence aspect. Dukkha is the inherent unsatisfactory nature. Anatta is the not self nature. It's not personal. All experiences are impersonal. And the third was understanding the law of karma, which means actions done with volition will produce results in accordance with nature of volition. It's a very old saying, as you sow, so you shall reap. Simple as that. Here it is referring to the mental actions. And then we saw the relationship between them, how one leads to the other. And then we discussed the wise resolve, which means three kinds of resolutions, which were Nekhamma Sankappo, that is resolving to give up acquisitiveness. The second is Avyapada Sankappo, that is giving up ill will. And third is Avihimsa Sankappo, giving up violence or harming others. This is what we studied last time. Now we come to the second aspect, second section of our eightfold path, which we had called Sīla, or practice of ethics. You can say the ethical behavior. following certain precepts. And there are three categories under them: wise speech, wise actions, wise livelihood. And in Pali they're called Samma Vacha, Samma Kammatta, or Samma Ajiva. In Hindi you say Samyak Vani, Samyak Karman, means physical action, and Samyak Ajivika. That would be the Hindi correspondence of it. So let's see what is that. I think this you must be all aware of them. It's worth mentioning them. Samavacha means wise speech. What is the wise wisdom aspect? Such a speech which will not cause us suffering, because all the aspects are such that they are not going to cause us suffering. They should remove our suffering. So it says, therefore, refraining from falsehood, refraining from slander, that is a speech that promotes animosity, disharmony, backbiting, then bitter words, malicious and abusive language, and idle and frivolous speech. These are the four aspects of wise speech. And you can see its relationship with the resolution, the resolve to give up ill will. Abhyavad Sankappo. From there, these directly emerge. Now, as I said, the whole teaching of Buddha was to move from suffering, to remove suffering, to reduce suffering. Now, can you explain how do these things reduce suffering? Do you have, on basis of your personal experience, not theory? I'm sure sometimes you must have told a lie also. Sometimes you must have indulged in backbiting, slandering others. Sometimes you must have spoken harsh words. And quite often we waste time in frivolous speech, just useless speech, talking about things which are of no concern to us. What does this actor do? What does that actress do? And it's sheer waste of time. So can you realize how these four things, refraining from these, is going to help us reduce suffering? Can you think about it and relate it to anything we have experienced?
A lot of times during usual conflicts with the
You can't hear.
okay.
The volume is small. It's not clear.
Okay. I was saying a lot of times when we have conflict with people close to us, so we end up saying words or we end up using a certain kind of language that we later come to regret on, and it happens more often than not. So, is am I audible, sir? Now clearly.
Audible, but there is a echo, so it's not very clear. I can try to make out meaning out of it.
Okay.
You are probably referring to bitter words, is it?
Yes, sir.
Harsh speech, which we
Yes.
often indulge in, especially with our parents.
Yes, sir. And more often than not, we end up regretting later. So, to avoid that in the first place, to try and, what we say, to try and take a moment before actually responding might help go a long way, because that might, whatever we say might not be actually how we feel, but it is just in that moment that we feel so, and so we express it in that way, and that aggravates the situation in a negative way.
Okay. Why does it happen in a moment if you are so wise?
Because it's not right. Because it's kind of a reaction. Just like we talked about how anger and things like those rise up, and if we are being very reactive in that very moment, and no matter how yes.
In fact, this was the assignment number 2, which only one of you submitted. Is Sonal here?
Yes, sir.
She is the only one who submitted second assignment, which should have been done by now. Never mind, that holds a clue to why do we react. As you're saying, you are explaining it right, but I want you to go behind that. Because our idea is to investigate this behavior, not to regret it later. We have to investigate and understand so that we don't do it actually. We gain the ability not to do it so that we don't have to regret later. So one thing is you understand that bitter words and harsh language used for anybody, we later on regret and therefore suffer, isn't it? That much all of you agree? Yeah. So then let us just spend a time because that relates to the second noble truth actually. Why do we indulge in the speech? What is the reason? How does it happen? How does the reaction happen? This is what the second noble truth said.
Sir, the wanting to set the person right, like why did you say that to me?
Yeah, that's not precisely the reason. That's only another way of mentioning reaction. You're putting the reaction in some other words. Why did the reaction happen in the first place? That's what I'm
Because
asking.
we identified the five executives, and because that was something that was said to me, we take things personally.
So let's analyze some. Can you take an example here and tell me this is what happened and this is how I. Then it will become clear. Is it that you just see some person and start shouting at him? That also can happen. Sometimes it can happen if somebody is very kind of threatening or that you have a very strong perception about him or her. But how? Say, give a practical example. I can see only the right hand of the girl who was speaking. Okay, go ahead, dear. Come on.
Um,
Give an example, practical example. Practical example. This is what happened and this is what I did. Then when we can explain it. Don't hesitate. You can treat me as a counselor for the moment.
A lot of times it happens when I'm in conversation with my mother, especially. So, say for example,
Yeah.
my mother has a habit of cleaning things up, and it was one thing when she used to do it when we were younger, but now I like to have things a certain way. And when my mother is home, especially on holidays, and I am away, and when I come back home, it usually happens that things have been rearranged or something or the other has been done. And a lot of times I do end up getting really irritated by this, and I do
Hold on. Why do you get irritated? Just because things are different, why do you get irritated?
because I have this idea in my mind that like the things like my things that I've left a certain way, especially like in our room, my brother and I's room, the things are in a certain way. So mom should not be rearranging them. It's okay if she does it with the rest of the house.
Let's break it down. When you do counseling, you break down the event into parts and then try to see correctly. Okay, let us break it down. You live in a hostel.
No, no, I live in like with my parents at home. We have a home in Delhi.
So you go there only on weekends, is it?
No, no, it's just that when my
Okay. You left, okay, I understand. You left in the morning, and when you come back in the evening, you find the house has been rearranged. Okay. So your room has been rearranged. Is that right?
sorry.
That you come back and you find your room has been rearranged. Things have been put in a different place.
Yes, sir. The clothes that
Now, hold on. We do it. We put it down into parts and then analyze. That's the way investigation is done. So
yes,
since I'm acting as a counselor, so you have to do that way.
yes, sir.
Now you came back from class, from your home office, from the university, went back home and found the thing which was supposed to be here is now there.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it. Okay. Now what does it mean? And you don't like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay? What does it mean? You have an unpleasant feeling on seeing that.
Yes, sir.
So, on seeing the things in a different place, there is an unpleasant feeling. Okay? And why is that unpleasant feeling? Because you have a perception that this thing should be there while it has been kept here.
Yes, sir.
So, you have an attachment to a perception. Your mother also has attachment to her perception. She thinks it should be there.
Yes, sir.
And so these two perceptions are different. And therefore, when you come there and the things are not according to your perception, you get an unpleasant feeling on seeing, just on seeing that.
Yes, sir.
So that unpleasant feeling, you are not able to see that it is just a feeling. You react to it because unpleasant feelings provoke a reaction of aversion. They provoke a reaction of anger, irritation, whatever. So this is what happens. We have a certain perception. We find there is a sensory contact of eyes with the object, and according to our perception, it is at the wrong place. So it produces unpleasant feeling, and we react to the unpleasant feeling by aversion. And that aversion, there is a tanha, there is a trishna produced. Vibhava trishna. No, this is not the way it should be. It should be somewhere else. And that gives rise to speech. It starts from the mind, anger. Irritation in the mind gives rise to harsh speech. Fortunately, it stops there. It could give rise to harsh action. So if you break it down, you see where exactly the problem lies. Do you understand? So the problem lies in the perception that I have a particular perception. This is the way things should be. And you think your perception is right, but just a perception which has been obtained by on some basis. Maybe you've seen some else things like that and you liked it, or you have a past conditioning, or maybe in the past life you were using things in that particular manner, whatever it be. So just a mental perception to which we are attached, and conflict arises. Do you see this?
Yes,
This is how we analyze things. Of course, the result of that was bitter words or harsh words. Behind the harsh words is a anger or irritation, mental. So it's always a first volition. Mental volition is irritation, anger. It manifests as speech. And if the anger becomes too high, for example, in another situation, the person can lift this object and throw it at the other person, or throw it out, or do anything else.
also, adding on to this, at times, it happens that I almost instantly realize that I don't even bother much about things being here or there. I'm not that like, organized in that way, but at times I feel very autonomous that, and especially with specific people, like say if someone else would have done it in my home, I won't have those kind of reactions. I observe this in myself, but specifically with my mother, it almost feels really autonomous.
Yeah.
It
She
feels
sees you as her daughter. She sees you as her daughter the same way as she was 10 years ago. No, you can't blame her for seeing you as her daughter. The trouble is you're grown up and you want your own space, isn't it? So you see, you should analyze it like that, and then you'll be able to see, oh my God, such a small thing, and I make a mess of it every day. Because we tend to take our parents for granted, you know. And what would be a wise way of responding situation? You can call your mother and say, "See, I don't like this," rather than getting irritated. Please let me have it there. Say it a few times. And I can assure you. So that's how conflict resolution happens. Very simple thing. And this can be massive. This could have a massive implication. Similar situations. I remember because I used to go to Tihar jail to conduct courses there, and I was the coordinator in the meditation program. Many of the very well-to-do people from villages ended up there as murderers. I couldn't believe that they could do murder. So when you talk to them, as we became friendly, all that happened was that the neighbor came and shouted, and they can use very abusive language. So he used abusive language, and he just couldn't. He was so irritated, just couldn't take it. And there was a iron rod or something lying. He lifted it up and he abused him and put the iron rod on his head and hit it on his head. How dare you say this? And unfortunately, the person died. Life gone. He is now a murderer. Life sentence. See how much implication, serious. And they used to regret, सर क्या हो गया, देखिए क्या हो, कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंच गया. उस गुस्से के कारण जरा सा उतना गुस्सा हमारे संयोग कंट्रोल नहीं हो पाया और मैंने उसे मार दिया. So the second noble truth is a very powerful thing which can lead us to real destruction. So the need for controlling speech and then actions, which we come to the next. Okay, that's one thing. Now let's see others. What about falsehood? You think it's really important or doesn't matter? Now, these days I'm told by young people, chalta hai. Or slandering, backbiting, or just gossiping, idle and frivolous speech, gossiping about film actors and actresses and politicians and celebrities of various kinds. What do we gain in that process? The mind becomes more and more defiled. Negativity, either it will be envy, or it will be greed, or it could be lust arising. No wholesome tendency will arise out of frivolous speech. Or slandering others, that becomes our habit. And what is the consequence of false speech? We become untrustworthy. Sooner or later, people find out, hey, this person keeps on telling lies. You never know what he's saying or she is saying, whether it is true or false. Because person is prone to telling lies. You never know it. You can't depend on her. So to see the suffering which is caused, I'm just trying to draw your attention to the suffering caused by not following these wise precepts. So these are not some things which she says, if you don't do this, you'll go to hell and there will be meet eternal damnation. Nothing. It just says, investigate and find out consequences. You can write down if you're not done already. Okay. Then we go to the wise action, which in fact is quite related to the wise speech. Is we should refrain from, it's all put in negative terms, refraining from killing, theft, sexual misconduct, intoxication, gambling, etc. And you can see its relationship with the resolve to give up harming others, resolve to give up acquisitiveness, संचय करने की प्रवृत्ति, दूसरों को नुकसान पहुंचाने की प्रवृत्ति. So if you refrain from that, we prevent our own suffering. That's as simple as that. And if you don't refrain, suffering will follow. And the analogy is given: if you don't refrain from these things, suffering will follow, like the wheel of an ox cart continuously follows the bullock. That's the analogy given. Wherever bullock goes, the wheel will follow it. Similarly, you do any of these things, suffering will follow you. Why is there echo? I hear back my words again and again sometimes. Has somebody logged in from phone, or is there a YouTube on, or what's going on?
So I'm on mute, but yes, I have logged in from my phone. Should I log out and log in from my laptop?
No, that's okay. You can just keep yourself muted. No?
Yeah, I've been on mute.
Yeah, then it's okay. Then it can't come from there. Okay, so are you able to hear? But you're not
Yes,
able
sir.
to speak. No, I'm talking to the girls in this classroom. Yeah, we can go ahead with this, doesn't matter. The people who listen to recording later, they'll feel irritated and they may break their phones or computers. Anyway, I hope about this there is no contention that these are some things which are not doable. You all recognize the value of refraining from these kinds of unwholesome actions. Is it okay? Any question? So you must speak. We can't communicate like dumb people. It's very difficult for me. No, I can't see. The camera cannot focus on this. You keep the mic on then, or doesn't matter. Or one of you can log in from phone then. Whatever. Till now we didn't have this problem, isn't it? No, you're too far from the camera, dear.
Device is different today. The microphone and the speaker device that we are having is different. That is why I think there is a problem.
Anyway, it's all right. We can allow the echo to happen, doesn't matter. We don't want to waste our time in this too much.
Yes.
So is this are you able to see that these four kinds of activities cause suffering to us?
Yes.
Okay. Then we'll go to the livelihood aspect of it. And that's quite interesting, the way Buddha puts up all this. What wise livelihood is that we should refrain from occupations that entail breaking of these precepts yourself and breaking the precepts of anyone else, which means refraining from rearing and selling animals for slaughter, killing animals, selling weapons, selling poisons, selling intoxicants. So you can see the relationship with the resolve to give up harming others again. So we had wise view that gave rise to wise resolve, and that gives rise to wise actions, wise livelihood, wise speech. Because I have until now only mentioned to you only about the negative aspect, what should not be done. But there are positive aspects of each one of them. So we can see them again. The positive aspects would be, instead of falsehood, speaking truthfully. And instead of slandering others, being and bitter words, speaking courteously. Speaking behind the back of others, we only speak good of them. And if you want to criticize others, we criticize in their face. That's the way we should conduct ourselves. So if I have to criticize you, I do it in front of you directly, not the third person. But if I have to praise you, I can praise you in the absence, in your absence also. Rather than using bitter words, we use kind words, soft words. Speak lovingly. And no time wastage in frivolous speech, discussing the clothes of the celebrities and discussing politicians, and no good, nothing comes out of it. Sheer waste of time. And I hope you understand that the most precious thing which we possess is the time. There's nothing more precious than that. And you realize it many times in life, especially when you become very old and you can see the death approaching. Every moment matters. And of course, death can approach any time. So if you have a correct perception of the nature of life, the impermanence, we'll never waste our time. And you can see, rather than killing sentient beings or harming others, we do good to them through actions like generosity. Rather than theft, we do generosity. Rather than killing beings or harming them, we practice loving kindness. We have goodwill towards them. We have compassion towards them. We have kindness towards them. Rather than sexual misconduct, we move towards chastity, towards, as we grow up, become old as householders, we give it up, the sexual activity. There are better things to do in life. They have their role, sexual activity has its role for a householder in the family setup. But when you're past that age, there's no point in continuing. Similarly, intoxication, gambling, rather than doing that, it's much better rather than losing money in gambling, it's better to do charity. So we can see how we can take the positive aspects. Rather than getting intoxicating and becoming heedless, we practice meditation so that we become more and more heedful, we become more and more mindful. Rather than getting mindlessly and getting into stupors, we become more alert. And of course, we do occupations which are noble, which help others. We also earn our livelihood and we help the society in whatever way our capability allows us, rather than harming others. So there are positive aspects of each one of them. And we must understand that these three things, the Sīla aspect, form the foundation. They are not divine commandments that you should do them and therefore you will get liberated. Or you will not get liberated just by following the precepts, no doubt. But you will reduce your suffering. Now, whenever I have talked about this in the past in IIT, in my students, there have always been finite questions. Some of them I'm trying to share with you, and I'm sure there must be similar questions in your mind also. First thing is, how can you survive in modern times if you follow these things? For example, many of them would tell me that, yeah, see, whenever I have to fill my CV for apply for job, I have to do some exaggeration. I can't just be truthful and tell them everything. Some things have to be concealed, some things have to be told. And if I tell lies, for example, in the family, I will conceal it. If I have a drink, I won't go about telling my parents that I had a drink today. It's fine. What's the problem? And what's wrong in flirting? After all, it's as long as we are both parties are consenting, there's pretty fine to have any kind of a physical relationship. There's common things which say. And the issue of survival is often portrayed as if it governs our survival. Often the condition will be told that, yeah, if you tell everything truthfully, you'll end up paying huge amount of income tax. So you must find ways and means. That's what we think that's being pragmatic, and this is being idealistic. You also feel so? Hmm?
I do, sir.
Yes. Anybody would like to comment on this statement? Do you have a doubt of this kind, that if you follow the precepts, it will become very difficult to live a typical householder's life?
Yes, sir.
Give an example, then we can understand that. Because a general statement cannot be analyzed. Specific example can be analyzed.
The thing is to mention that we tell our parents everything truthfully. So it's like so in my particular let's take the example. Say hypothetically. So hypothetically, so in my
I can't hear it clearly, unfortunately. I would have been happy to join in your jokes. Come on, put the mic near you. Guru beta, come on. Speak out, don't worry. I'm not going to go to your parents and tell them. You had logged in earlier from your phone. Why don't you use the phone? You're logged out, is it?
yes, I just logged out, sir. It would happen like if I could speak from my phone, it would then echo more. So that's why.
I don't know. I thought if you put off that microphone and use the phone, put it near your mouth, then the echo will not be there. That has been my past experience. So, because you're in a big room, I know the classroom size. Classroom is a big one, and you're sitting in one corner of it. So, microphone will have problems. So, if you log in from your phone and use that as a microphone,
Yes, sir.
the speaker off, use that as a microphone. Then hopefully the echo will not be there. I will be able to at least understand what you're speaking. Yes, Sonal, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yes, now it's clear. I'm sure Yashika also must be wondering. Now it is clear.
Yes, it's clearer now.
Yeah, go ahead now.
Yes,
Otherwise,
sir.
I was making assumptions about what you're saying.
Sir, so particularly what happens in my household is with regard to like telling everything truthfully to my parents. So, interaction with like boys, that's the idea that's not very welcome. So, if I have to like go out with someone and if in my friend group like there is a boy, so I cannot say that I am going with this person. I have to say, ki, okay, my other like girlfriends are also there. So, hence we are going.
That much of falsehood should be allowed, you mean to say?
Probably. Because it matters like these, like there's, as this question also is raised, so there's always a conflict, but yes, I feel this much of also should be allowed, because there are certain matters that really can't be reasoned out and discussed at home. You either you will inhibit yourself too much that you'll, like, as the example she mentioned, you will not form friendships of such kind, you will not um or you will have to hide stuff.
Okay, I'll not make any comment on it.
So we couldn't understand, could you please repeat?
I said I won't make any comment on it, so I'll let it pass. And leave it for you to think, okay? How about writing your CVs for getting a job?
Writing the CV.
When you apply to a job, you have to write a CV, isn't it? You have to write whatever you have achieved, whatever you have done. How about
Yes,
that?
sir.
Does it need to be exactly truthful, or you can do some polishing to exaggerate a little bit what you've achieved and underplay what you have not?
um uh, being almost exactly truthful can be workable, like बोलना है?
So if we, like I personally think that we should not exaggerate about our skills because ultimately when we do perform our job, if we have lied on our CV, that will ultimately be revealed on the job. So I don't think that it is going to be helpful in the long run.
See, when I used to discuss it because I used to teach a course on these things. So we'll ask them about, for example, sexual misconduct. I would ask them, because many of them are of the marriageable age, past postgraduate students used to attend, PhD students. So how about having relationships outside the marriage or things of that kind, which is called the sexual misconduct, isn't it? So I said, rather than argue about all this, whether it's good or bad, there's something called a golden rule. Do you know what is that golden rule? It's cutting across all traditions, all spiritual traditions, all religious traditions. There's a common principle there. Do unto others as you wish others to do unto you. Very simple thing. Okay. Is it acceptable?
Yes, sir.
Now look at the points which I'm going to write here. Since our class, there used to be predominantly, just as you predominantly girls, there will be predominantly boys. The girls would be very rarely in our classes because the nature of technology being what it is. So they would all say that having a few girlfriends simultaneously is not a problem. And if I'm married and if I have a girlfriend also, what's the problem? So I would ask them, okay, if your wife also has a boyfriend simultaneously, how would you feel? Oh no, that's not good. What why it's not good? What is the problem? So that's the real issue. We want our freedom, but we don't want to give freedom, quote unquote freedom to others. If I lie to my friend or my parent, that's okay. But if they lie to me, what happened? Say if I'm in the office and I'm asked by, it's unfortunately has been a bane of this country. How do I feel when somebody asks bribe from me? Then am I justified in expecting favors from others when I do their work? So when some of our meditators and people who are married would come and ask me about tinkering with these Shīlas, getting some freedom, थोड़ा बहुत तो चलना चाहिए. जैसे आप कह रहे थे ना, सच में, जरा थोड़ा बहुत flirting में, थोड़ा बहुत शराब पीने में. I mean, of course, these are what would you say pleasures of this life. अब उसको भी नहीं करेंगे तो जिंदगी बहुत खराब हो जाएगी. So my single type question on single type kind of statement would be, if you do whatever you do in your life, be fine. But just make sure that you can share it with your children. Then there would be aghast, ये क्या कह दिया इन्होंने? ये हमारे काउंसलर हैं कि हमारी मुसीबत खड़ी कर रहे हैं? अगर आप अपने बच्चों के साथ शेयर नहीं कर सकते आप क्या कर रहे हैं, अगर आप अपने भाई बहन के साथ शेयर नहीं कर सकते क्या कर रहे हैं, अपने माता पिता के साथ शेयर नहीं कर सकते, कुछ प्रॉब्लम तो है ना कहीं ना कहीं. Imagine your parents. Unfortunately, it is happening in India also now. In abroad, since I keep on going here and there, thanks to my son who keeps on going from one country to another, there is a common stuff. The mother of a young boy is also having her own affair. It has started happening here also. उससे पूछो कि जब तेरा अफेयर हो सकता है आउटसाइड से, मैरिज तो अपनी माँ के क्यों नहीं हो सकती? क्या परेशानी है? वो परेशानी हो रही. Very difficult questions. You're young girls, so don't get antagonized with me for asking difficult questions. What do you think about it? I'm not answering them. I'm just posing questions for you to think. So the Buddha points out two things, two words he uses, two of the what are called universal mental factors of a wholesome chitta, wholesome state of mind. So if they're wholesome state of mind, it will have two good qualities, at least these two. There are many others, I'm just pointing two. In the Pali language, there is this kind of words that's complicated, hiri, otapa. Basically, it means moral shame and moral dread. What does it mean? हिंदी में सिंपल वर्ड है उसका लज्जा. एक लज्जा होती है, शर्म आती है गलत काम करने से. एक उधर गलत काम करने से भय जागता है. Says if these two, and he says, emphatically, these two are the guardians of this world. If the society is devoid of these two, society will become debauched. It will destroy itself. within a few generations. And we can see happening in societies today. There's almost nothing like a family of the kind we have in India, in the United States. There's nothing like that concept at all. It's all nuclear fission has happened. Every marriage ends in a divorce within 3 years. Within a year, 1/3 of the marriages done in that year have a divorce. Of course, we are also progressing in the same direction. That's a different story. But that's the state of affairs of a developed, quote unquote, developed society. The amount of crime in the United States is the highest in the world. The crime per unit population is the highest in the world there. The divorces per unit population are highest in the world, which is the richest country. You can check up statistics and see the actual number, because these days data are easily available. There are agencies which do this data crunching, and you can get that data. If a father chastises his son in home, the son can call police and get his father arrested. So there is a common statement in the kind of, what should I say, in the literature, okay, that there's great peace in the American families. The parents obey their teachers, the children very well. So there's peace. So that's the importance of these precepts. So whatever action we do, whether it is vocal action, physical action, mental action, I would give you a simple touchstone. Can I share it with my parents' children? If you are grown up, children, if you're young, parents. Difficult thing, very difficult thing, I know. But what's contemplating? I'm not saying you kind of repress yourselves and kind of get into a difficulty. Rather than becoming counselors, you need counseling. So that's not what I'm trying to say. But think about that. Think on that. Because whenever we conceal something which we know is not acceptable, it creates some apprehension, some unpleasant feeling in the mind. पता चल जाएगा तो क्या होगा, अरे हंगामा हो जाएगा, ये होगा, वो होगा. टेक्स्ट पे मैसेज, आजकल तो टेक्स्ट मैसेज आ रहे हैं, तो वो देखना, किसी ने देख लिया किसी दिन माता जी ने, तो क्या होगा, तो जल्दी से डिलीट कर दो मैसेज को. There are all new ways of getting into difficulty. So this reflection on moral shame and moral dread is really very crucial. You can see it happening in the society at a wider scale, and we can try to do our own introspection. What is the positive value of all these precepts? Speaking truthfully enables us to be trustworthy. Speaking kindly even under provocation strengthens forbearance, encouraging others to share their feelings with us frankly. Is an extremely important quality for any person, any grown-up person trying to do counseling, whether it's in a family level, professional level, friendship level. We all do counseling of each other, isn't it? As friends, as children, as parents. Even for parents, we sometimes children do counseling for parents also. If there is a very good relationship, friendly relationship between parents. I see my granddaughter speaking absolutely truthfully to her mother about whatever emotions arise in her school, and she's in France in a extremely, what should I say, quote unquote free society where everything is allowed. So when I had gone there, she even told me so many things. I was astounded. क्या कह रही है बिटिया, छोटी सी है, 10 साल की बच्ची मुझसे ऐसी से बातें कर रही है. Then I told her mother. She said, yeah, she tells me also. And she asked me, and I have to go and spend an hour explaining to her, you're still young. Well, hold on, hold on. You'll know it in due course. So what does it do? It protects the child. And it gives the confidence to the child. I can talk to my mother, anything and any damn thing. Doesn't matter. Even if my mother is scolding me, if I do something wrong, she is my only well-wisher, really. She knows it thoroughly. She'll fight with her mother often, but then she knows she's the only well-wisher. Baki to sab khatra hai bhaiya. She can't say that to others. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Actually, our network was unstable for the last half a minute. Could you please repeat what you were saying? We heard till that part where बिटी हाँ छोटी सी बिटिया और वो क्या बोल रहे हैं.
Yeah, I'm just giving an example of truthfulness making us, creating a trust. So because she's just completed 10 and having been exposed, she's lived abroad most of the time. So only for 2 years she was in India. Earlier she was in Korea. Now she's in France with her parents. And France is a society, I'm sure you know, it's absolutely out of this world. From Indian point of view, it's a gone case. So the atmosphere in the school is so different from normal Indian family, normal Indian middle class family, that it comes as a shock. But just because trust has been built up, she would say anything and everything, whatever happens in the school, to her mother. And when I was there for a short time, she would even not hesitate telling me. And that meant she only wanted to tease me. She's an old man, let me tease him. And I'm capable of saying even such things. So I used to create a scene. What the hell are you talking to me? So the point I'm making is that the trust becomes established. Then the child can explain everything. And if the child is getting into a trouble and getting into uncharted territory, which can be terribly dangerous, at that age, it can be extremely dangerous. So since there is a truthfulness established, then the trust remains. Both sides, the trust remains. Otherwise, there will be excessive constraints put. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. But once you have trust that, yeah, if anything she'll inform, then you get more freedom. Of course, it depends on particular situation. I'm not saying everywhere it can be done. It depends on relationships and how you nurture them. This speaking kindly, even the provocation, they're one of the most difficult things, When somebody is provoking you, instigating you with harsh words, the wrong action, how do you handle that? If the child is speaking, of course, you yourself are children now, but I'm sure within 10 years you will be in a position to talk to your children in the same manner, and they're going to provoke you much more than our children provoked us. Things have changed enormously. So if the parent gets really angry with the child, whenever the child is doing something, that's where the problem arises. Communication breaks down. So bitter speech is something which hurts our relationships, actually. Unless the other person is really evolved and he or she understands, oh, come on, इसकी तो आदत ही ऐसी बोलने की, it doesn't matter, but he or she is not, doesn't have ill intentions, but that's the way of speech, it happens. But that needs a very evolved person who can speak, who can maintain equanimity in spite of provocative speech from other side. So that's why it is said we should practice loving kindness. Rather than anger, we should practice kindness toward those who are inimical to us to reduce conflicts. So we'll talk about this practice of loving kindness later. It's also one of the kinds of meditations which you do, which is antidote to anger. If a person has anger problem too much, then we say practice loving kindness. Especially if you have anger towards some people, a friend, a parent, or a spouse, or somebody, practice loving kindness specifically. And there are methods of doing that. We'll practice it in due course. Then comes the question of generosity, which is a positive aspect of taking things which are not belonging to us. I mean, theft, you can say, in some sense. So if you must have experienced, when you share your wealth, your good, your even whatever small thing you have with others, it gives you joy. And about the livelihood aspect. If you earn livelihood by righteous means through hard work, it gives you happiness of a blemish-free life. You're not worried about what will happen if people find out I've got wealth in by unfair means. You won't be afraid of government coming and knocking at your door someday. So there's a value of earning by righteous means, in the sense that if you earn by unrighteous means, it creates suffering, fear, apprehension, constant apprehension. So there's a teaching which the Buddha gives to his 7-year-old son. Rahula was his name. And I won't go into details of it. One of the important aspects he mentions is, before you do an action, you should reflect whether the action I'm going to do, action meaning mental action, vocal action, physical action. वाणी का कर्म, शरीर का कर्म, मन का कर्म. Even thinking is talking. So before you do any of these actions, you should think, is it going to promote my happiness or unhappiness? Is it going to promote others' happiness or unhappiness? And if you know it is going to promote unhappiness, don't do it. Simple. Do only those which you know will promote my happiness. He's telling to a 7-year-old boy, which means he presumes that he knows. He will be able to know whether it is going to give me happiness or unhappiness. And I'm sure I can say to all of you sitting here that you all know that. And then he says, okay, if you're not done before, while you're doing an action, do that. Do then at least. When you're doing some action, you didn't think about it before and you started. Now you think, whatever I am doing, is it going to be harmful to anybody or is it beneficial? To others or to me or to both? And if it is found to be harmful to any, to the others or to me, stop. Don't do that. Don't take it to completion. Stop it there. And then he says, third thing, okay, you didn't do it even then. At least do it after having done an action. After having done an action, now you at least think what I did, was it helpful? Did it benefit me or did it harm me? Did it benefit others or did it harm others? And if anywhere the answer is yes, it harmed others, feel ashamed. She says, feel ashamed. Go to somebody, your senior. He doesn't say then you cry and wail. He says, no, go to somebody who's your senior, your elder brother, because he was becoming a monk, so you go to some senior monk, go to your parent or go to your, the technical term you use, Kalyan Mitra, which means a friend who is your spiritual guide or who's your good friend, in whom you can confide. Go to him or her and tell him, oh, I did this wrong action today. I'm sorry about it, really. But I will not do it in future. So please give me your good wishes, give me your blessings, so that I gain mental strength and don't do such things in future. And then forget about it. Don't create a remorse and brood over it for a lifetime. Action is done, finished. And the resolution is that you have openly admitted it to somebody. And that open admission will act as an inner check. It will act as an inner check and prevent you from doing it wrong again. And if you haven't do it again, do the same thing again. Do it again and again and again till you stop. You'll be too ashamed to do it again. You get fed up of your own mind's inability to follow what is right, and then you'll do it right. You'll not do anything which is wrong. And he tells a very powerful statement that all the people in the past, all the people in the present, all the people in the future who have transformed their mind have done it like that. There's no other way. So you can see how practical this thing is and how valuable this is. And of course, he also gives the methods by which to strengthen the mind. That we'll be discussing it. That's the Eightfold Path. So this is what pertains to the domain of our activities, our precepts. And of course, in modern times, we have things which were not there at the time of Buddha. We didn't have cyber activities and pollution and loss of economy through lack of Sīla, like the stocks exchange being rigged up and marketing being rigged up and poor quality stuff being passed on as genuine stuff and so on, all kinds of things which happen. Especially with young people, cyber activities, email writing should be seen as speech. Texting, sending messages. Pornography should be seen as sexual misconduct. It'll corrupt the mind enormously, enormously. You may say, I'm seeing it in my room, bedroom, sleeping, and I'm looking at some adult stuff, what is so-called adult stuff. It's going to pollute your mind. When you're of the age, you indulge in those activities with a certain purpose. Having a family, procreation, that is it. It has its own role as an householder. But if you keep on looking at it, you become an addict. You become a extremely kind of addicted person who can indulge in all kinds of things. Your mental health will fall down. You will say it's benign. After all, I'm just seeing, I'm not harming anybody. No, you're harming yourself. There's an action in which you're harming yourself. It's almost, it may not be technically sexual misconduct, but in the spirit, it is. At the mental level, it is. Creating pollution of various kinds. You may say, yeah, everybody is doing it. Yeah, that's everybody is telling lies also. And suffering also. You can see the consequences of greed in the society today. The whole planet is under threat. So this is how, in the modern society, you have to, in fact, widen the scope of restraints. So, Sīla basically means restraining the mind, ethical restraints. It's extremely important. That's why I discussed it in threadbare terms so much. Extremely important for our personal development, for our societal development. And from the spiritual perspective, it is the foundation. If precepts are not, if I have, for example, done any wrong action, told a lie, indulged in sexual misconduct, have stolen something, and I say, no, come on, I'll sit and meditate. You can't. You'll see 2 breaths and the thought will come, oh my God, I have done this. I hope nobody will find it out. Oh my God, I have done this. You just can't quieten your mind at all if you break any precept. Because that's the nature of the mind. It wants to be pure. Our mind has an intrinsic nature to be pure. But we defile it by our ignorance and breakage of precepts, wrong action, wrong speech, wrong livelihood. They are the 3 things which really matter a lot in our life. And they create all the kind of complications in our life, suffering in our life. The gross suffering emerges from there. The subtle suffering emerges from other kinds of ignorance, spiritual ignorance. But this is mundane ignorance. Not knowing the law of karma. That if we indulge in false speech, I'm going to suffer. If I harm others, I'm going to be harmed. There's a verse of the Buddha in which he says, I just translate it for you. A person kills himself first, and then he can kill others. Which means a person harms himself first, and then only he can harm others. Because to harm others, you'll have to defile your mind. You'll have to get greedy, get angry, get lustful, get arrogant. And all these mental factors, when they arise, they will torture you. They will make you suffer. So you suffer first. I suffer first, and then only I can inflict suffering on others. And that may not be sure. I may say a harsh word to somebody, and he may be an enlightened person. Say, come on, fools keep on barking, doesn't matter. He doesn't get hurt, I get hurt. So that's the importance of following these precepts. Okay, I'll stop here now. Any questions, you can ask me. And now you feel anything which I've said is not doable, it's an old man's vision, please share, speak it out, no problem. Yes, बोलो बेटा, कुछ है, कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछना था, speak out.
No questions as of now, sir. I guess need some time to think about it.
Okay.
I'm still wondering about that initial thing that we were talking about. So I individually also, if I see how I have been functioning over the past few years, so there that
Frame is frozen, internet gone. Your internet is not working.
sorry, sir.
There is
Okay.
frame is frozen. Internet. I didn't hear what you said because there is internet didn't work for some time. Speak again.
Okay. Yes, sir. So I was saying no questions as of now. We might need some time to think. I'm wondering about in the past few years how I've been sort of functioning. If I talk about myself, um, there are certain sets of behavior we create limits for ourselves and we justify them when it comes to acting by ethical means or these precepts of wise speech, wise all of these that we were talking about. So the example that we were sharing earlier, that to your parent, because that is even over the course of years, and I'm sure it's the case for most of us, we've tried to sort of practice ethical behavior in ways, but then we allow ourselves certain leverages in some things that is understandable. So probably lying to parents has been one such thing for me, and I am actually wondering about the same. So
Yeah, you can
that
think.
was just
I'm not saying, I'm not wanting to add to your problems. I'm just saying you think about it. Think about it. Is it possible to come out clean and share? Of course, when somebody asks you where were you, and say I was with my friend, and she says no, was it a boy or a girl? And if it's a boy, say it's a boy. So it's all right. This is my friend. What is the problem? Okay? Then they'll say get angry and all. Say there's nothing to get angry about. So you maintain cool. That's it. You have to maintain cool. That issue which I had mentioned. This speaking kindly even under provocation. Practice it. Come on. I'm not saying you don't do that. If you want to have a friendly relationship with a boyfriend, okay, but come on. If the mother says no, this is not done, and this, that, listen kindly. Listen kindly.
network was frozen again. We couldn't hear you for the last.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, for example, for speaking truthfully to the parent, write out and see what happens. What will happen? Mother will get angry. So there's a provocation for you also to get angry and shout. Your old-fashioned people doesn't happen like that. We can't insulate ourselves from boys. We're just having friendship. We're just talking. So don't say anything. Just listen. Listen quietly. And speak some kind words. Yes, mother, I can understand your things. But times have changed. I'm I'm very careful to see that the contact remains within permissible limits. I can assure you that. And I'm sure you'll have no objection in telling that fully. I'm just saying things as I would advise to my granddaughter. You're all of very young, 50 years difference between two of us. So yeah, we can do that, of course. And when that kind of relationship develops, you can bank on your parent, your mother, to get advice whether you should carry forward with a particular person or not. Nobody else will be able to give you such advice. You can think about it. I think the internet is playing truant. It doesn't want you to listen what I'm saying. your, your wish not to listen to an old man is acting on internet and preventing it from working. Good. Okay, doesn't matter. So we'll sit quietly for 5 minutes, okay? You had said no, we should meditate before stopping also. So we'll sit quietly for 5 minutes. I would suggest that you observe breath for two minutes and then shift attention to the whole body. See what you feel. Can you feel anything or not? I'm confident you will be able to feel. When you're observing the body, you don't have to bother about the breath. Just be aware of the body. And if you can't feel anything in the body, then you shift to the breath. And all the time be aware of the changing nature of the experience. Whether it is breath, that also is changing continuously. Whether it is the body, it is continuously changing. Whether it is the feeling arising from bodily contact, that also is continuously changing. So there's nothing permanent in this world. Nothing whatsoever. Our body, our feelings, our perceptions, our habits, our faculty of awareness, sensory faculties, our relationships, friendships, nothing. Everything is changing. And any attempt to prevent them from changing will cause suffering. That is the very first thing which we learn. Good, so we can stop now. Unless you want to discuss it further, no problem. You can, if you want, you can discuss it. If already tired, you can stop. Okay. So any comment or question you have, or we should stop? You want to discuss that issue of truthfulness further, or you had enough of it? You think about it yourself, I was only suggesting to you an alternative way of looking at the whole thing, which will be much more wholesome and much more satisfying for you, which will reduce your fears and apprehensions and possibilities of difficulties which may arise in such relationships in our country. That's the point. There's no one other than a mother who can be relied upon. I can just tell you for sure. Howsoever ignorant you may think she is, but she's probably your best friend all the time, for all times to come. Only thing is, you have to create that trust and relationships. And that way is that when somebody is speaking, say the mother is upset and speaking harshly to you, have patience. No, okay, harsh words, unpleasant feeling, no reaction. That's it. And things will take a different turn.